Good morning and thanks so much for joining in. You're watching Ask Profit on NDTV Profit. My name is Mathew and with me is Smriti Chaudhary. We'll take you through the next half an hour or so of trade. And if you've got questions for us on stocks that you either own or would like to buy, you can send them to us on the WhatsApp number that's on your screen right now, or in fact on any one of our social media platforms. It's a bit of a tough day for the equity markets, and it's selling that is intensifying as we go through the session. You have the benchmark that is trading very close to the low point of the day and down about 0.8%. And if anything, the pain is far more visible in the broader end of the markets. And you have the mid-cap 150 index that's down quite considerably, down about 2.7%, also at the low point of the day. And the small cap index down about 3.6% or thereabouts. Now, if you are to look at the last 5 days, then this is a trend that is quite visible. And in fact, you will see that the Nifty 50 is barely lower. Of course, if you account for today's downside, then you'll see cuts of about 1% or thereabouts. But the drop for the broader markets is far more considerable. The small cap index over the last 5 days or so losing about 5% or thereabouts. Now, let's look a little bit deeper into the key indices that are contributing to this, and you have red across the board today. In fact, there's only the FMCG pack that's more or less staying in the green, up about 1%, but everything else, from the energy pack to metals to media to realty is losing considerable ground on the back of selling yesterday as well. And in fact, let's also look at the key Nifty 50 contributors. You have quite a few losers on the benchmark Nifty 50. In fact, Larsen & Toubro losing the most ground. On the other end of the spectrum, on the gainers side, you have ITC, which continues to stay in the green and is gaining ground even as we speak right now. Of course, it is off the low point, off the high point of the day, it's up still about 6% or so. And that, in fact, is the focus of today.
Yes, good morning, Alex.
Morning.
ITC is definitely the stock of the day. Among sea of red, it's the only positive sign, and this comes after the promoter company, British American Tobacco, has sold 3.5% stake in the company. But the broader question here is this now a good time to buy ITC? And to talk about it, we have my colleague Mahima joining in to give us key details on that.
Right. So before I move on to what the valuations look like at present for ITC, just a quick review of how the stock is performed. Well, ITC stock did not perform well from 2013 to 18, and this was because the sales, EBITDA, PBT, everything grew at a CAGR of around 6 to 8%. And there was an increased taxation on tobacco, and there was implementation of GST as well. So the ITC stock was under pressure between these years, but from 2019 to 2023, there was a 9 to 10% CAGR growth in sales and EBITDA for ITC. The taxation was stabilized for tobacco, and a 12% CAGR was seen in PAT. So that is why the ITC stock performed very well. In fact, in 2022, the stock has rallied a lot. So the stock nearly doubled in 2022 actually. And the PE ratio during Feb 2022 was around 18. The current PE from today, today's stock rise is around 20 times at present. And if you take a 5-year median of the PE, it's around 22. And the highest PE in 5 years has been 34, and the highest PE in 2 years has been around 32. So even if you talk about the earnings expectations, well, for FY25 around 18 EPS is expected, and 26, 20, and it keeps growing by FY27. The estimates show around 23.4 EPS. And if you talk about the analyst rating also, 92% say buy, only 5% say hold, and 3% say sell. So overall, the street view is also saying that it's a good time to buy ITC. However, we can just wait and watch on how the stock will play out to be.
Right, thank you, Mahima, for that. On that note, let me introduce you to the guests for today. We have Saurabh, Jain, Equity Head, SMC Global, and Aditya, Arora, founder of Adletic.in, are both joining in. Thank you so much, Aditya and Saurabh, for joining. Saurabh, let me come to you first on ITC. Now, if you look at the PE valuations, it's closer to the lower end than the highest that we've ever seen for ITC. We've seen this overhang of promoter selling. Now that's over. A lot of things have worked out for ITC. Would you suggest buying at this juncture?
Hi, good morning. Thanks to you for having me on the show. See, if you look at the business, most of the things I think your colleague has already covered. But if you see, the company is consistently focusing on its core areas. I mean, you see the FMCG business. It is showing good amount of growth in contrast to its peer in the FMCG industry. The margins are also growing. They are coming up with the newer product categories, newer categories. For example, in the dairy and the beverage business, the company is expecting in the next 6 to 9 months very good growth coming in. Hotel business is doing well. Paper business is also doing well. So all the businesses are putting up a good show, and on top of it, the valuation is also compelling in contrast to the FMCG peers. So it makes all the more sense to chip in for the long term for investment in the ITC.
Got it. It so happens that we've got a couple of questions right off the bat on ITC, and the first one is an options trade. We've got Sayam, who's sold a 460 call of ITC, and he's wondering what his strategy should be. The stock is up over 6% in trade today. Aditya, what should he do?
Look, the stock is up by a massive 6% today. So I think there should be a defined stop loss in the system at the first place. And even if the trade goes wrong, one should follow stop loss. But at this point in time, what he can do is that establish a stop loss at 445. If that level is crossed, 445, then he should exit from this trade, because that would, create a case for fresh rally towards 480, 490. So in case the stock crosses 445, what he can do is that he can sell in the money call option, because he's losing in. He can sell in the money put option to create a bullish bias, so that he can cover up the losses which he made in bearish position. So I'm telling a level specific recommendation. If 445 is crossed, he can turn his bearish bet into bullish bet, and the targets over here would be 480 to 490.
Got it. And the stop loss that you've pointed out. All right. There's also a fundamental question, Saurabh. This one's for you. You've already spoken about ITC, but specific. We've got a viewer that is bought. We've got Pranay that is bought at 404. It's at 429. Should he continue to hold is a question. Is it the right time to buy HDFC Bank? If I interpret this correctly, would you book profits in one and move to HDFC Bank?
I would recommend to hold on to ITC. I mean, ITC will consistently grow, and the management is quite confident. In the last earnings season, the management comments points towards that only. So, in my sense, it is better to hold ITC. I think HDFC Bank will be a slightly contrarian bank, because the management has already guided that they would go for a slower credit growth this year, because they want to, boost their CASA ratio after the merger with the HDFC. So I think it will take some time, and the stock will rest for the next 2-3 quarters. I think we better wait for next 2-3 quarters, and then if there is a progression according to what management has guided, then I think it makes sense to jump into the HDFC Bank.
All right, Saurabh. Next up, we have a question from Marut, and we're talking about QSR space now, so the likes of Devyani International Restaurants, Brand Asia. He says that if this is a good time to accumulate the stock, the shareholding till February 2024 has seen so we've seen DIIs putting money into it, but the stock haven't done too much. So would you suggest from a longer term perspective to get into the QSR space, and what stocks would you recommend?
See, for the QSR space, I think we don't have any specific stocks that we have recommended to our clients, but I think it is more important to get into the main sectors of the market. For example, IT, banking, and maybe pharma stocks. So in the IT pack, we are recommending TCS, HCL Technology. In the banking, we are recommending ICICI, Union Bank, Indian Bank. In the pharma space, we are recommending Natco and Alembic Pharmaceutical.
All right. We've got Pranay's question that has already been answered, and Geeta is asking this next question. She's asking for a view on Adani Power for the long term, and what levels can she buy at? I guess she's asking this based on the fundamentals. Saurabh, do you have coverage, and if so, what's the view here?
See, power sector, I think it is a very good growth story, and it appears that the sectors will continue to grow. Adani Power, we don't have any buy recommendation, but in the power sector, we are more bullish on the NTPC and JSW.
Okay, fair point. But let me try and get Aditya, if you can give us a view on the technicals on the charts. What should the strategy be for the longer term?
So for Adani Power, I think a good support would be 430 to 440. If we take a broader view, I think 410 to 440 is a good level to accumulate the stock, because at that point, at this level, there are a lot of gaps. So in case the correction intensifies from here, then 400 to 440 is a good band to accumulate. In case we see end of correction in this week, then probably the stock could take support at levels like 480 to 500. So that band would be a good band to accumulate the stock. And if she wants to play momentum, then we can see a fresh breakout above 580. Even in that case, the stock will see a fresh rally towards 620 to 650.
Standard disclaimer here, the NDTV group is owned by AMG, which is an Adani group company, and this is NDTV Profit. We have to slip into a very quick break. There's more on the other side. We'll be taking more questions, so do stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. Let's quickly dive into the questions. The first one is on IRFC, and this is from Pranav Singh. Now, he's bought the stock at 159, so slightly elevated levels from where currently the stock is trading at around 126 a piece. We're seeing a very sharp downturn, Aditya, in across PSU stocks, and especially this one, IRFC. I think it is in last 1 month, it has corrected about 18% or so. Would you suggest holding on to this stock from a shorter term perspective, or is there more pain in the stock?
Absolutely. Looking at the charts, there seems vertical fall from the top. Hence, institutions are less interested in this counter, and selling pressure is pretty intense. So I think he may get a chance to get in at lower level. At this point in time, it seems little expensive and seems like a falling knife. He may get a chance to accumulate the stock at around 118 to almost 110 levels. So that would be the right price to get in, and second one would be 100. So these are the right levels to get in. At this point, I think he can save little bucks by being little underweight on this counter.
Okay, fair point. Paytm is the next one we're talking about. We haven't spoken about it in quite a bit, but we've got Karan that is asking about this. He's bought at levels of 407. The stock is currently at 350, down nearly 5% in trade. Saurabh, it's not something that we know the whole story about, and this is, I guess, something that we will come to know in the coming weeks and months, how things pan out. Would you hold on to this with the expectation or the hope that something would turn around for the business?
I think there is no point in betting on hope. The business model has already been challenged. There is a lot of regulatory apprehensions also. So, in my opinion, when the market is also tanking down, I think this stock can further fall. So, I think it is better to get out of this stock. You are losing approximately 10-15% of the money. Better to jump in the good stories in the sectors.
All right, got it. Next up, we have a question from Priya, and the stock that we're talking about is Capacite Infra Projects. Now, Priya bought the stock at slightly elevated levels at 272 a piece. It's currently trading at around 228. So a considerable amount of loss, Aditya. From on the charts, do you think this sort of downtick is going to continue for a while?
I think the stock has already reached its support levels. So from this point, I think the selling could be less intense, and she should wait a little while, because I think there's possibility of bounce back from here. Although, look, if the market correction intensify, then any stock can fall. But at this point, there's a lot of support at these levels of 230, 220. So if the buyers come in picture again, then there's scope for reversal till 240 to 260.
I'm going to stop taking questions just for a bit, because I want you to look at the markets. You have the benchmark Nifty 50 that is down about 1% and very close to the low point of the day. And take a look at the small cap index. It's down 3.75%, nearly 4%. So the cracks are widening. There is significant selling. So I will take this moment to ask both our experts what the strategy should be at this current juncture. We've been saying, Saurabh, for some time that there is possibly a little bit of froth at the broader end. And if we look at the last 5 sessions, then some of the names that have run up very substantially have seen substantial drops. And this seems to be something that is not necessarily going to go away very quickly. Does this call for a reallocation?
Certainly. I think there's a lot of money which has gone to the small cap and mid cap side of the market, and the valuations have already gone off the roof. I think all the experts were talking about the correction which is likely to come, and it was not coming since October, November last year. But now it has. I feel it has just started. I feel that there is more room for the correction to go in this month, or maybe going in next month. it is better to exit from the lower end of the market, lower end of the stocks, and better to focus on the large caps. In the large cap category, we like sectors like that I have spoken: pharmaceutical, power, in banking, and IT. I think these are the four sectors, capital goods along with it. I think these are the main sectors which you can focus on, especially on the large cap sector.
And in a market like this, Aditya, where you look at momentum going the wrong way, right, where that's just starting to build, where do you duck for cover, and how do you position yourself if you're relatively shorter time frame, and maybe if you're a trader?
True, true. Look, there are a lot of spaces where one could hide at. I think look at FMCG counters like ITC. Look at other FMCG counters which are relatively outperforming the market, wherein you are seeing cracks of almost 4 to 5% in PSU counters, small caps, etc. But FMCG counters are relatively stable. A lot of them are green or a little bit down. That is one space to hide in. And the second one would be banking space, which is showing incredible outperformance. And I think the larger ones are even showing short covering. A lot of short contracts are being unwound in a lot of large banking names. So I think that's an excellent hiding space, and one could stay there because I think a good rally is underway over there. So banking is a very good space to hide in, and I'm very optimistic, about a rally in large cap banking names.
All right, got it. Now, while we're on the topic, we have a very similar question from Mr. Ahuja. Now, this is on Reliance. Now, Aditya, this is for you as well. He says that he's sold 2 lots of short sell in Reliance Industries, and for March expiry with a strike price of 3,000 at 28 rupees. Should he book losses at the current market price is the question. Aditya, what would you suggest doing here?
Can I see the question again? He sold that.
So he's gone short. He's gone short. Let's pull up the market price currently for Reliance Industries and see where it's currently trading. It's at 2,910. Yeah. So he's saying that, look, I'm reading this out. He's saying he's sold 2 lots for March expiry at a strike price of 3,000 at 28. Should he book loss, or should he hold out for the next expiry?
So he has mixed two things.
He's mixed 2 things. Yeah.
Yeah. In future, there are no strikes and in options. If he has done options, there shouldn't be future. So we don't know whether he's talking about call or put. But we'll discuss the general outlook for Reliance. I think if he had sold the calls, then he can book the profit now.
Understood. We are completely out of time on this edition of Ask Profit. Thank you so much, Saurabh and Aditya, for joining in and for answering so many questions for us. And viewers, thanks for tuning in. If we were not able to take your questions today, we'll definitely try and take them tomorrow. Come back at 11:30 and we'll get all your questions answered. But stick around. We have lots more coming up on NDTV Profit.